Hi, my name's Mark Fountain. I've been a videographer for the last 20 years. Welcome to my new podcast called Let's Talk. So my podcast is going to be about people's life journeys. I know what you're going to say, probably heard it all before, but mine are just normal, real people and people that have been successful in what they do. I've got YouTube stars, I've got sports personalities, and I've got huge entrepreneurs that are going to come on and talk about their life journeys. For me being a videographer, I have really enjoyed documenting people's life stories. So like I said, my name is Mark, and my podcasts are called Let's Talk. My guest today is a guy called Jamie Anderson. Jamie Anderson is a YouTube sensation on how to play the sax. He's the founder of GetYourSaxTogether.com. He's turned his passion for music into a very successful business. From the stages of the West End to basically playing from all over the world. Please welcome my guest, Jamie Anderson, on Let's Talk. Jamie,
Yo.
thank you very much for coming on as a guest.
No problem. It's
So,
a
Jamie-
magical mystery podcast for me. Okay.
Hopefully it won't be too bad for you at all. So Jamie, I just wanted to sort of get to know you a bit better, if you like,
All right.
more about your life story,
Are
because
you sure you want to do that?
definitely 100%. So I mean, you've had, like, from what I know of you, you've had this incredible journey to get to where you are today. So obviously you run a YouTube channel. You're the founder of GetYourSaxTogether.com.
That's right.
Incredible what you do and where you've been and everything. But let's roll it right back to the very beginning. So you come from Scotland originally, is that right?
Yeah, I was born and brought up in Scotland. I don't sound like it.
You don't?
I'm like a fake Scot. If I talk to Scottish people, I suddenly sound more Scottish. And then you'll hear the odd word. You think, oh, what's that? Then people think I'm Canadian, South African, Australian, Cornish.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I can't see South African in there whatsoever. But
So I did used to sound pretty Scottish, but then I moved down to London when I was, I guess, like 17 or something.
with your parents, or was that?
No, I just moved down to study music. And there's a video of me on the Young Jazz Musician of the Year when I'm about 20, early 20s, and I do still sound quite Scottish. But then gradually it just wore off. I guess I was just, I just morphed myself to fit in, like some Scottish people, most probably, keep their accent. Like the guys in Wet 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 who I play with, they just sound exactly the same as when they were at school, even though they, some of them have lived in England for their whole lives. But not me. I just like morphed into where I was. So yeah, I do feel like a bit of a Scottish fraud. My mum was brought up in England, so my mum was English. Although my gran was Scottish, my mum was English. My dad was from Paisley in Scotland, and then I was born and brought up in Scotland. So
Wow. Do you ever go back to Scotland?
yeah, all the time. Yeah, they're still there. In the house that I grew up at, well, they built a new house next door to where I grew up, but same place basically, yeah. Go back all the time, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the musical influence. So like for me, as a creative, my father was quite a well-known landscape architect. So he was very creative
Right.
in everything that he did. So I feel like my creativity may have came from him. So did you have any influences when you was a child? Was your dad into music? Your mum into music?
Right, yeah. So my mum was very much into music. She was more into sort of classical music. She played viola and piano. She was a primary school teacher, so she played all the piano for the kids and that. Quite a good piano player, very musical, loves her music. My dad's kind of like, he's more enthusiastic than skillful. He does love a bit of music, but his thing was he'd play his guitar and he had like a few bar chords. And so he'd got these books and he'd go through the books and sing all these songs. And I didn't even know the originals, because I was quite young. And we never had cool music in my house. We had crap music at home.
What's crap music? What was it?
Well, it was either like classical stuff, Jimmy Shand and his band, like Scottish dance music. And I don't mean pumping dance music, I mean like Highland dance music. And then it was like a bit of John Denver, like some, really middle of the road stuff. There was no black music in our record collection whatsoever. It was white as snow, our record collection. It was so unsoulful. It was unbelievable. I don't know why I ended up just loving so much black music because I never got exposed to it.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Anyway, he would be playing like Paul Simon songs and yeah, and I would just take it for granted that's how the songs went until I heard the originals. Then I was like, oh my God, he's playing it completely wrong. All the chords are missing. Some of the bars are completely different lengths. You know, he would just move on to the next bit of words when he felt like it and stuff like that. That was hilarious. So then when I started being able to play piano and play chords, I'd start reading the music along with him. I go, Dad, what are you doing? It's nothing like it. If you didn't know a chord, he'd just stay on the one he was on before. But he used to love it. So I guess, yeah, fair play for being enthusiastic. And there was live music in the house. You know, he was playing guitar and singing. We used to have little concerts and stuff, like school concerts, little concerts at parties and things. It was fun. So yeah, long story short, my mum was the musical.
Your mum was more the musical one. So you're saying your mum played the piano?
She played piano. She also played viola in a local sort of amateur orchestra. And she's very much the one who encouraged me to do it, you know. My dad was a bit more, you should probably get a proper job.
I love it when, like, anything sort of creative. So I've got this thing. I'm very jealous of people that can play musical instruments or anyone that can do any sort of art. I think anything creative is just incredible. I really do. Yeah. Especially musical instrument. I'm tone deaf. Oh, yeah. I actually went to a school with a guy called David Thomas, who ended up writing the theme tune for Afterlife. Oh, yeah. So he lives in New York now, incredible musician. But he was one of them guys that could pick up anything and play it. Didn't matter what it was, he could just play it and play it pitch perfect. Super jealous of like yourself, you know, super jealous of people like that.
So where'd you get an eye for visual, like what attracted you to like visual art, let's say?
So I'm not very academic whatsoever. I can't read or write properly. Not been tested, but I'm self-diagnosed as dyslexic or thick, whatever. So for me, it was always the way forward was just to be creative, either like through art or through photography or through like cinematography, anything like that, because I would do anything to not have to write on a bit of paper.
Right. But were you into movies and stuff?
Not really, no. No. I've never been a film buff. I've never been into anything like that. It was more the mechanics of everything. I love all the gear. You know, I'm a gear junkie. I love buying new stuff. You know, I love, there's a brand new lens out. I must have that. Or every time Sony bring out a new camera, I'm like, I could probably do that. I was like, I don't need it. You know what I mean? But yeah, just one of them.
Right, interesting.
Yeah. So you moved down to London when you was around 17.
Yeah, that's it.
To study music.
I did music at City University, yeah. And we had our instrumental tuition at the Guildhall School of Music, which is a famous music conservatoire. So it was weird, actually, because I auditioned for the main music colleges and didn't get in. Because I was sort of classically trained, but I wanted to do jazz, and then my jazz was making my classical rubbish, and my sort of classical was making my jazz a bit rubbish. But I ended up at City University, which was quite good in the end. It was really diverse course. So we studied everything from like Eskimo music to studio production and
Eskimo music.
I know, yeah.
What's Eskimo music?
I can't remember. Pretty mental though. I honestly can't remember. Yeah, now you're asking. Yeah, good question. I think it's quite like nasally. It's almost like, you know, you get that sort of throat singing style that those monks do.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But we would do music from all around the world. We'd do like mental classical pieces that were just off the planet. I mean, even like physiological things. We'd studied like acoustics and the physiology of the ear and stuff like that. Just really weird stuff. But in the meantime,
interesting though. But I guess you need to know the biomechanics of how the body works and how you react to music, I guess.
I'm not sure you do. It was interesting though.
Oh right, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Something just to take up the course, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that, you know, Miles Davis didn't know about the inner workings of his ear, but he did all right. So yeah, that was that. And then after that, I did an extra year post-grad at the Guildhall School of Music in jazz and studio music. And then I met a load of people there and started playing with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra. And that's where you make all your contacts, if you know what I mean.
So as far as like picking an instrument to go with, obviously you had a love for jazz and soul and that anyway. So you must have had a love for the saxophone and the flute and, you know, them musical instruments.
I don't really love flute.
You don't like flute?
Flute's
it's on your biography.
And I do play it. I play it, but it's a necessary evil.
I'm just going to scrap that one off.
No, I do play flute, yeah. But I don't really love it. It's pretty hard. I started on clarinet. I played, you know, recorder at school and all that stuff with the disinfecting bucket and all that.
Fucking recorders. Jesus.
Painful.
Absolute, like, germ haven, aren't they?
So I started on clarinet when I was about 9. And I remember Mum getting this clarinet. And I thought, wow, it's so shiny. It's amazing. But I was mainly just running around using it like a rifle. And then after the longest time, I think she realised I was sort of losing interest in that. Although she did, to her credit, make me practice day in, day out. And then there was a local clarinetist, classical clarinetist, who I was getting lessons with. And she said, oh, you should go to this other dude, Gordon Cruikshanks, because I switched to sax, and she was still teaching me sax, but she said, really, I think what you need is to go to this other dude, which was, you know, to her credit, because she would have lost me as a student at the point, but she thought, I think he's best over there. So fair play to shout out to Hilary Saunders. So I went to this guy, he's called Gordon Cruikshanks, and he's a real old school jazz dude, and he was a broadcaster for Radio Scotland. He had a jazz show, and he was a complete wreckhead, and his life was a mess, and he was divorced probably a couple of times. He's dead now, God rest his soul. And we'd go to his flat in Edinburgh. Mum would drive me over there, and sometimes he wouldn't be there. So sometimes he'd just be like this with his head in his hands. I'm like so bad, you know. I'm like about 14, just thinking, what's going on? And then he had this tiny cupboard. You could touch both walls like this, and it was only about 1 metre deep. And he shut the door to that cupboard and started smoking.
Jesus.
So he'd be smoking, and then he'd have a few big pulls in his face, and then he'd stick it in like one of the little guards of his saxophone, so it was just sort of smoking away there while he's teaching. Other times he'd just keep playing, it would be between his fingers. And his whole flat was a mess. He'd have like records, and because everyone would send him promo stuff because he was a DJ, he'd have records piled everywhere. CDs, he used to give me stuff, but he was a real inspirational dude, you know.
Yeah,
he was like,
Sounds
look at that picture of John Coltrane, you know, look at him, what a dude. And so he inspired that kind of love of music, even though he was utterly terrible credentials as an actual teacher.
Yeah. It's crazy how them so my uncle was a guy called Ray Topping, and he used to work for Ace Records. So he was quite big in Ace Records. He was the archive record collector. So he used to do a lot of writings and stuff about, I can't remember what they're called, about the music and stuff. He had a 4-bedroom house in Harold Wood, and he was floor to ceiling of just LPs. Yeah. All 4-bed. Divorced, no kids. You know, his whole life was smoked 80 Marlboro a day.
Yeah.
He was heavily obese and overweight, but absolutely lived and died for music.
Yeah, sounds like Gordon Cruikshanks.
Incredible characters, yeah.
So I learned from him. I don't know what I learned from. I learned, you know, I guess an appreciation and passion for the music from him more than anything.
Yeah.
I never really saw him again after I went down to London, and then he died not that long after. He was in pretty bad health. He was in pretty bad shape.
Sounds it.
I've forgotten what I was saying now, but he was my teacher.
He was teaching you.
So that's when I really got interested in saxophone, basically.
Yeah. So is there something about the saxophone that you find so enjoyable?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I don't really think about it that much, but I remember I love, and still do, I love the shape, like the curves of the sax, which is kind of like a
There is something
weird thing
super cool about a saxophone.
Yeah, so they say. I've said I've said this story on another podcast, but it's worth saying again. So apologies to anybody who's listening to this who's heard the other podcast, but my apocryphal like sax is cool story. So when I was about, I guess, when did I start saxophone? I must have been 13 or something. I fancied this girl at school, and I'd never been out with any girls, never asked any girls out. And I was like, oh, I really fancy her, I'm going to ask her out. So I kind of went alongside her and walking along. I said, will you go out with me? Just like really dumb, you know. She said, no. And I said, but I play saxophone.
Did you?
I thought everyone thinks saxophone's really cool. This is my ace card on my sleeve.
That's it, you're in.
She went, so what? I was like, damn.
Was you holding it when you asked it as well?
No, nowhere near me. So I've never used the saxophone is cool card ever again. So,
Jeez.
but yeah, they do say that.
Yeah, it is cool though. It is cool.
Look at that. I'm actually embarrassed even thinking about it.
I might have to turn
Decades.
turn the tone down a bit on camera too.
Later. But I was playing saxophone when I met Mel, so she must have thought it was quite cool.
Definitely.
Or maybe she just fell in love with me despite the fact that I play saxophone.
Yeah. Or she's got bad eyes.
Just a bit dark in the club, yeah.
So you've learned how to play the sax. Listen, your sheet of stuff that you've done with the saxophone is honestly out of this world. I mean, obviously, I've known you for a while, like through our wives being friends.
Yeah, yeah.
But actually doing some research on you and seeing what you have done and what you have achieved, mate, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky in that regard.
I mean, you've been all around the world playing the saxophone.
Yeah. I've been to some weird and wonderful places. At one point, we were playing for a ska band called Maroontown. They're still going, actually. And the British Council sent us off, almost like, ambassadors, I suppose, for... There were lots of different... It was quite a diverse band, so I guess we were a sort of poster for, multicultural, diverse Britain around the world, which is quite cool. Yeah, but we went to some crazy places. We went to Brazil. That was amazing. We went to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, these weird, like, former Soviet places. Then not so cool, actually, but interesting to go there.
And what sort of gigs was you doing there?
We would do concerts which I guess the local British Council had organised. Yeah, concert halls. I think it was in Kazakhstan. We played at a youth offenders prison. That was really eye-opening.
Yeah,
really grim place. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody that's from Kazakhstan who's listening to this, but it's not. It's a fairly grim country at the best of times.
Sure.
But then within that, the prison was super grim. And there were really desperate kids in there. Yeah. So
and what sort of...
For a band to come in and like do a concert and everyone was... First of all, the warden was like, everybody sit down. But then they just sort of let them dance around. And it was amazing to see, see people just enjoy themselves.
What sort of offences have these people done, these kids that are done in the young offenders place?
Yeah, it's a good question. I couldn't tell you for sure. It wasn't like murderers or anything like that. Petty crimes, probably fighting,
but
stealing.
they enjoyed having you guys in there.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And actually, the warden said, some people who had just been completely locked down really opened up, which is pretty amazing. So we have had some really cool opportunities. Sometimes you just have to pinch yourself, I'm playing with Incognito on the beach in Mexico or something. You're like, I can't believe this is my
crazy,
job.
Yeah, someone's paying you to do that.
Don't get me wrong. It's not all, it's the same with you. You sometimes just have to grind it out.
Yeah.
I'll be doing some soul destroying gig somewhere, wishing I was somewhere else.
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we?
But generally I can't complain. And actually, most people that I meet, they do say, wow, you are so lucky to do what you love. And I totally agree with them. I think I am. But I also think anyone can do what they love if you just somehow work out how to make it work. Some people test golf courses for a job,
I know. Listen, I completely agree with all that. And, I think if you want something enough and you've got enough passion to do it, I do think anyone can do anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
As long as you put your mind to it and your heart and soul and everything into it. And it's interesting what you're saying about the young offenders in Kazakhstan. You know, how much music brings everybody together. Music's mad like that. And
yeah, it's incredible.
crazy.
It's really incredible. It's one of the best things. I'm doing festivals at the moment with Wet, 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 and you just look out at the whole crowd. It's, you know, a sunny evening.
Wet, Wet, Wet.
Yeah.
Marty Pello's still going.
Well, he is, but he's not with the band anymore. He left years ago, so we've got a different singer. But yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, and you look out and everyone's just having a good time. It's just, it's a pretty amazing job.
So reading your bio, you played in Tokyo.
Yeah.
You played in America. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. All over Europe, obviously.
Yeah.
In the West End.
Yeah, lots of West End. Yeah.
What for you? What's been the most standout-ish, poignant play? Like saying what we were just saying just now. Where you stand there and just go, "My God, how did I end up here?"
Yeah, that's a good one.
A boy playing guns with a clarinet is now standing here, getting paid for doing something I enjoy.
One of the best places I ever played was the Blue Note Club in Tokyo, because the audience are just unbelievable, and the attention to detail of the technical staff you think you're a gearhead. This is child's play compared to these dudes.
Because some of my listeners might think gear is a different sort of gear. I'm talking about equipment.
These guys' level of attention to detail is ridiculous in this place. I mean, all across Japan, actually, to be fair, but especially in this club. You know, you move, they set you all up. As soon as you play, it just sounds brilliant. You're like, anything you want. It's like, that just sounds amazing. Because normally it sounds shit when you first play. You're like, oh, God, I can't hear anything about it.
Yeah.
But this was like, sounds like a record straight out the monitor. And then if you move, like, I move my sax stand like 6 inches over there. And then you come back the next day. It's because you do several nights in a row.
Yeah.
And they've like moved it and they've put a new marker. And they're like, whatever you do, they're just on it. You know, if you put your drink there, next time there'll be a little table with a mat on it for your drink, you know.
Wow.
They're just anticipating everything you're going to do.
Yeah.
So already you're feeling like $1 million in this place. You're feeling like a superstar. And then the audience are just right there with you, you know, in the middle of your solo. They'll be clapping and cheering. Rah! I'm just playing there, just going, this is insane.
Wow.
And the other one like that was playing with Shaka Khan at the Lovebox Festival. That was insane. Because you do so many gigs playing covers.
Yeah.
You know, like spend the whole time doing wedding gigs and Jewish weddings and stuff like that. And you're obviously playing covers all night. So when you play, you know, I'm Every Woman and all that with Shaka Khan, you're like, whoa, this is actually
That's
it.
insane.
You know, this is actually
Yeah.
it, not just like some rubbish version of it. And it's just so much better playing, you know, that song. And I've done that a few different times with different people. Playing the song with the person is completely different from playing a cover version.
Do you get nervous? Have you ever had a stage like a gig like that? You know, playing their actual song with them.
A gig like that, I never get nervous. I never get nervous doing like pop or funk or soul stuff, you know, because that's right in my wheelhouse. And you've got horn section, you've got the music, you know what you're doing, it's easy. But playing West End is quite...
So what's the difference for you then?
Well, when you're doing the West End as a saxophone player, you typically have to play a lot of different instruments. Like you mentioned the flute earlier. You have to play flute, you have to play clarinet. So I've got four different saxes: soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, and then there's clarinet, bass clarinet, which is a big clarinet, piccolo, which is the teeny little thing, and flute. Sometimes alto flute, which is like a longer flute, and some people have got different types of clarinets and stuff as well. So you got to be picking these things up instantly, swapping and playing. Typically for West End stuff, you're doing a lot of different genres of music. So you have to, like, 1 minute you're just doing screaming, poppy sort of alto.
Yeah.
And then you have to put that down and in 3 seconds pick up the flute and play really quiet, long notes, you know, perfectly in tune with somebody else. And then that finishes, and as quick as that finished, you're on piccolo going...
Bloody hell.
And then you're doing something on clarinet, and then you're back to sort of jazzy, big
So you
band
got to make
sax.
sure you accidentally don't pick up the kazoo.
Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you just pick up the wrong thing, yeah. There's one switch in the show Book of Mormon where it's just so fast you've actually got to have the clarinet sort of between your knees and just go and switch. You've got like 2 seconds to switch. That's pretty funny. But it's very forensic, and you know, you feel like on a big gig like you were talking about before, it's just like you know, there's space, there's room to maneuver and feel it. But on these gigs, it's like dead acoustics. You got headphones. You've got a little screen about the size of the monitor you've got there with a conductor on it who's, you know, got from his waist up, so he's teeny on this thing.
Yeah.
And he might just be going, bringing you in with his hand. You got to be coming in. You might be completely on your own. Everyone else is sat there, you know, like reading a book or playing on their phones. So it's really dry, super dry. And if, you know, the regulars are there doing it 8 shows a week, so if you just make the slightest mistake, sometimes they'll be like, oh. You're like, whoa.
Jesus.
Wow, this is mental.
So from getting like a West End gig, say we'll take Jersey Boys for example. Yeah. So you have to audition for that as a musician? How does it work?
Yeah, that was more a word of mouth thing, really.
Okay.
There's a person called a fixer who organises the whole band.
Yeah.
They decide who's going to do it, and they just kind of manage the whole thing alongside the actual musical director, the MD. So for Jersey Boys, we had to be like up on the stage doing some like choreography moves and stuff. And a lot of the best players in the West End are sort of slightly longer in the tooth. And let's just say they're not best suited to the dance move side of things. So our fixer Morris Cambridge,
more mature musicians.
More mature, yeah. And, you know, partial to a beer or 20. So our fixer, he knew he had to get sort of younger people and who didn't mind dancing around a bit. So he just did his homework and said, hey, who'd be good for this? And there was a bass player I'd worked in a function band with. He said, why don't you get Jamie? So he did. So that's all it was. I didn't have to audition. First thing that happened was I turned up for the first day of rehearsals. Which is kind of how it goes in this industry. You never.
That's quite a compliment on its own, though, isn't it? You
know,
for like gigs like that up in the West End, you know. For someone to say, because they're actually putting their reputation on the line as well, aren't they? You know, saying this,
in a way,
this guy's great.
Yeah, and if you ask enough people and they say, oh yeah, he's great, and that's it. You know they are.
Yeah. How long from auditions to rehearsals to actually ending up being on stage?
Right. So the actual actors and actresses who are doing it, they'll be rehearsing for ages, and they'll be like blocking it out, and you stand there and you sing that, and the MD will be there with his piano rehearsing for weeks probably. But us, we've just got the music all written out already. So we would come in. Actually, for Jersey Boys, it was unusual. We did rehearse for a couple of weeks, but normally there's just 1 or 2 days, I would say, for most shows. Maybe even just 1 day. There might be a day where you're in somewhere else, a different venue, just literally playing the music. Then there'll be 1 day when you're in the theatre with everybody and you do a dress rehearsal. So you just put the music there, bang, go, sight read it.
Really?
Okay. It should, you know, and most people can do it pretty perfectly first time. I mean, I'm a pretty good sight reader, but not like some people are just put anything in front of them, they'll read it first time. So if I'm going in to stand in for a show as a deputy, we call it depping, I'll be practicing it for weeks along with the recording, so I can really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's your show, you'll typically come in and bang, that's it. Because, you know, the people I'm talking about, they're so pro, they're so good.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, there's the music, play it, bang, next. It's ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it's expensive to pay a whole band for a day's rehearsal.
Well, I guess it is, yeah.
So they're just like, right, let's do it. And then you do it.
Unreal.
Yeah, so like 1 day rehearsal, then first show.
No wonder you're nervous. I understand it now. Gee. So we had, obviously we had a bit of a mishap a couple of years ago with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
West End shut down.
Yeah.
Most things shut down. I mean, what did you do? Because you've done all this travelling and everything. Probably your wife was quite happy to have you there for a bit as well. Because I imagine with everything you was doing, there was a lot of travelling involved.
Yep.
So what happened to you during COVID?
Well, a few things happened which were quite interesting. First thing was a lot of drama and stress went away in my head because I wouldn't wish COVID on the world again by any means, but it did for me anyway. I was thinking, God, this is brilliant. Nobody's gigging. There's not a single musician on this planet who's doing a gig right now. And I thought, I've got nothing to worry about. I don't need to think who's doing what. Am I getting called for that? Should I not be doing that? Oh, why can't I do that? Just all that noise went away. It was bliss.
Blimey.
I was like the best, nobody from Radiohead to your local pub band is doing anything. We're all in the same boat. So I thought, this is absolutely fantastic. I feel like I can...
we had the same thing in our industry.
Yeah.
I shit a brick because I was thinking no one's doing nothing. That's it. Income stopped.
Yeah, my income was stopped. Yeah, I was shitting a brick about. I was shitting a brick about that.
That part of it, yeah.
So that part was really bad.
Other than that,
so we did all the things that were available for self-employed people to do.
Yeah.
Get some self-employed, the self-employed income support scheme. The Musicians Union gave us a nominal amount of money, a little bit. We got a bounce back business loan. I think even even at this age, I think my mum and dad gave some money for food at first. So that was all going on.
Yeah.
But we weren't really, mortgage, holiday.
Yeah.
All that. All those little, do you remember all that stuff we had to do to survive? We were all doing that. But, once the panic, but I don't know, there's something about everyone being in the same boat. It doesn't feel quite as bad.
I guess so, yeah.
I was sort of
it's
thinking,
like the pressures took off a little bit because you're thinking, well, I can't do it. They're not fucking doing it either.
I was kind of, if it was just me or you.
If it was
your
fault.
You're in your own private lockdown, right? You're not allowed to leave your house. You've got this crazy virus that no one in the planet's got.
Yeah.
You can't work. You'd be like, this is heavy. But because everyone was in the same boat, there was a sort of almost a camaraderie, even though you weren't connected.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd already had my YouTube channel going, and I thought, right, now's the best time to kick it into gear. So obviously I kept making videos for that, but then I also created an online course, which was called Total Tone Mastery, how to make a great sound on saxophone. And I'd been building up my email list through the YouTube thing because people get free PDFs and what have you. And then in December of 2020, I sold that. I launched that. And then that did pretty well. And then suddenly we were back on our feet again.
I mean, look, it didn't just do pretty well. I mean, I think you did incredibly well.
We did incredibly well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we could, pay everybody back and, it wasn't like, it didn't set us up with a mansion, but we just kind of cleared all the stuff that was putting us underwater.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
we kind of came
Start
back to the
fresh.
surface.
Yeah,
we're
that's
like,
it.
oh, right, okay, let's just take a breath and then.
And I think as well, people can lose track of like. So I use this analogy with any socials, yeah. So say you got like 2 football fields, and I've got this thing that this social media arm comes in and goes, do you know what? I'm gonna take Instagram as a platform for a start, yeah, and go I'm gonna make you Insta famous. Yeah. You're not doing anything different to any of that lot. I'm gonna make you Insta famous and put you there. So you're gonna earn a fortune out of this platform.
Yeah.
All these other fuckers are doing exactly the same as what you're doing, but I've chosen you to do that. YouTube's a little bit different, isn't it? Because I think YouTube is consistency for a start, and also consistency in the same thing that you're doing. So you're quite niche because you're a sax player, and you're giving away like sax lessons, if you like, in a PDF form. So for you, do you think that's how it worked well for you? Plus, obviously, you must have had a bit of an audience on your YouTube channel anyway.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me, yeah. You've got to just put 7 a.m. every Sunday. I put a video out, and I have for 3 whatever years now. At one point, I had this really bad infection in my throat. And I had to go to hospital for 5 days. And I still, from my hospital bed, filmed something with my phone and then just put out like an incog solo that I'd done. So I haven't missed a single Sunday.
So still with that consistency.
So that's my kind of, that's the that's the foundation of my channel. Is just every Sunday, 7 a.m, sax up your Sunday, boom, there it is. You set your clock by it. And if you're just making valuable content that's useful to people, eventually it'll just pick up. And actually, when I had to make YouTube content, I started looking at channels by people like you. I was like, I need to film this. What do I do? It's like, I'll watch YouTube. It's like university YouTube. You can learn anything. You might not become an absolute expert, but you can learn enough to get from zero to, I can sort of get my way around this.
You can.
It's like, I don't know how to light my stuff. I'll look it up. All right, 3-point lighting, da-da-da-da. I don't know what camera to get. Best budget camera. Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Lens. How do you shoot? You do that. What's depth of field? You sit there, try and get.
Yeah.
How do you light a green screen? It's like, you've got to light it evenly. But, you just learn so much from YouTube.
Isn't it interesting as a professional musician, you're now also having to learn how to film, light, edit, all these other bits and pieces that are going on within creating your new business.
Yeah, you've got to be like so many different people to do what I do. Okay, I've got to be a saxophonist. There's your first one, probably the hardest one of all.
I'd say that's quite the foundation of the business, isn't it?
I've had a bit of time working on that. But then, videographer, video editor. You've got to be a sort of social media manager. You've got to be a businessman and accountant. You've got to learn marketing. You've got to learn how to notate music and, a music publisher effectively. All these different, audio engineer, sound engineer, studio, recording yourself, mixing that, mix engineer. All these things you got to do yourself.
Yeah.
Many of which you do.
Well, yeah, but it's my job. I've done it for years, but I think for someone to have just solely been a musician, to start up a YouTube channel, and I'm guessing you're exactly like me as well. Everything's constantly evolving. So you obviously start off how you start off, and then every time you're doing something, you think, so I need to change this for next time.
Yeah.
I've done this for 20 years. I'm still learning every single job that we go on. There's still stuff that I need to do differently. There's still stuff that I did wrong last time that I definitely won't be doing on that job because, and probably the client doesn't even notice, but, it's obviously my sort of way of being a perfectionist in doing what I do.
You definitely evolve.
Of course.
When you look at my first video, I tried to, even like we were chatting before, and you're saying some people make videos, they're massive, they just do it on their phone. From the start, I tried to have a base level of production values.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad I did, because now they're some of my most popular videos. And if they were just filmed with a phone and sounded rubbish, I'd be a bit embarrassed about it.
Cool.
But even then, it looked pretty crap, and I was like crap in front of camera. And it takes a long time to get comfortable.
It does.
And to be yourself in front of a camera.
And not just in front of a camera, but when no one's there and you're just talking to a lens. It's mad. It's weird.
It's really weird, isn't it?
It's different if I'm standing there interviewing you because you're like this. You're talking to me, But when you're actually just looking down the lens and just talking to the lens, it's the most bizarre thing.
And the screen robs you of a certain percentage of interest and characters. You got to not 10x it, but you got to kind of up your sort of delivery and expression a bit. Yeah, and it takes a while to get that right as well.
Yeah. So you've got a big online presence on YouTube and you're selling courses and everything. So how's that now ball rolled?
Well, I can sell the same courses again, for the people that haven't bought it yet. The videos keep coming out. I've got new plans for different products, different ways of helping people. Maybe some sort of membership option down the road. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities.
Would you go back touring again?
Yeah, I mean, if Tara Parr came to me and said, "Do you want to do a tour?" I probably would, but I wouldn't go away doing a theatre tour or anything. It's
very taxing, isn't it? It's taxing on the fact. So with with what I do, I've been all over the world doing what I do, and I know I'd be away 6-7 weeks at a time
Right.
filming. So it's very taxing on the family. It's very taxing on the kids. So I understand it's for a family home. It's very difficult. You know.
Yeah, I used to tour with Incognito, and I was doing the Jersey Boys at the same time, and that's why I stopped touring with Incognito, because it was too hard.
Yeah.
And especially now after lockdown, I guess it was make or break for a lot of families. It's like, if you hate each other, you're in big trouble. You better work that out, or it's going to be a meltdown. But we really bonded as a family.
Yeah.
And now I don't want to be away from my family. You
No,
know,
that's what, I think it changes
it.
a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Changes a hell of a lot of things.
I saw a lot of people that I know who worked up in the city, who'd be getting the train from Chelmsford up there at 6 a.m, get back at 7 p.m, never saw their kids.
Yeah.
And then lockdown hit, and they're just seeing their kids, they're taking them to school, going to school plays, seeing the football matches. And they're like, this is wicked. I want to go back to that shit, commute.
I actually think a lot of good come out of COVID.
Yeah.
I really do. I think there was new business opportunities for people. Look at what you've created, and you can do that at home. You can do that in a family environment,
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing. Now I don't have to go away and do something that I'm not going to enjoy.
No.
I'll go away and do things that I do enjoy.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of sort of one-nighters and stuff. That's cool. But yeah, I don't want to go away for 2 weeks and be away from the family.
No, I agree.
I like seeing everybody. I like sitting at home watching telly in the evening.
I completely agree with you. I couldn't agree anymore. It was nice to be grounded, It was nice to... It was like a big reset, wasn't it, really? I think, for everybody.
Massive reset, yeah.
Yeah. So the channel's ever evolving.
Yeah, the channel's ever evolving, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to, before we finish and everything, I just want to say as well, your daughter is now took up music pretty well. She's doing a lot of local gigs. I've heard quite a lot of her stuff. She's very good. Obviously, she's influenced by you.
Yeah,
because listen, your kids are either going to be into fitness or music, because your wife's mad on fitness.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be one of the two.
Yeah. So, yeah, my daughter's name is Jasmine, so you can look up Jasmine Anderson on YouTube. If you've got show notes for this thing, maybe you can put a link in there.
Definitely.
So people can check her out.
Yeah.
She writes her own stuff and plays piano and plays guitar. She did this concert just down the road from me at Gallywood, her first sort of solo concert a couple of months ago. That was amazing. I do hear, she probably is influenced by me. Not in terms of the music I like, although, her taste in music is much cooler than ours. If you take the way I grew up and do the exact opposite, it's like that. She's saying, "Oh, check this out." I'm like, "God, that's amazing. What's that? Never heard of it." But she would, I'm imagining, you'd probably have to ask her yourself, but I'm imagining she's influenced by me being a musician and music being around.
Yeah.
And I've shown her different chords and things like that. And she can speak the lingo of chords, like me. And she can sort of sing things like riffs and drums and guitars, sort of the way I do. Maybe in 30 years she'll be sat here doing a podcast with you or someone else.
It'll be in the metaverse. It won't be sitting here. It'll be something even weirder.
But she's pretty much her own artist at the end of the day. Yeah.
Do you think musicians like your daughter? How old's Jasmine now?
She's about to turn 16. She's 15 at the moment.
So do you think she has born natural talent?
Oh yeah, that's a good
for
question.
music, or do you think it's something that she's learned over the years?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. Based on teaching people, there's some people that just never seem to be able to get it.
Yeah.
So I think, my son Sonny, he's actually an amazing musician, but he doesn't play anything. He's never felt like doing it. He loves his gaming and he plays football and all that. Yeah. But I know how musical he is. And the same with my wife, Mel. She's amazingly musical. She's got great rhythm, pitch. She can sing things. If she took up an instrument, she'd be amazing. I know that for a fact. So that's just a good example of somebody who I know is musical, those two.
Yeah.
And they haven't really done anything with it. But if they did, they'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Sonny can sing back any song that he hears on the radio. He's just this memory guy for melodies. I'm like, you've got a superpower. That's amazing. And, you know, Mel loves music. So we've all got music, and it's just
Yeah.
I did something with it. Jasmine's doing something with it. Maybe Sonny will do something with it. But I think there's a core sort of feeling that you got for it. But then if you don't work on it, it'll only just stay at that unrealized level.
Yeah.
So it's both. You've got to put in, well, they say it's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, which I think is pretty good
I agree.
of putting it.
Yeah, yeah.
But without that 1%,
Yeah.
99% is going to go nowhere.
Well, listen, I think she's got a good role model in yourself anyway with,
Thanks, man.
with where music can take you and where, you know, like we said earlier on, if you want something enough, you can do it.
Yeah. And I've got my own business. Mel's got her own business. So, that's nice to see when you're growing up that you can just do your own thing, you know, create a life for yourself. If you see both your parents just slogging away 9 to 5, it might be more difficult to have the vision that, I could do something myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a proper job.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do wish I had a proper job, you know, it's a bit, it would all be so much easier. Because I've got that's the only, you know, dark side of having your own business. I've got nobody to vibe with. Like I don't have a partner as such.
It can be quite lonely at times, can't it?
Yeah, it's lonely, and you've got nobody just sort of saying, hey, you're doing great, or look, you need to pick it up with this. Nobody's saying how well you're doing. So I'm just trying to finding my own way. And
we've had jobs before where you know, same as you, we've gone everywhere doing this. We've had jobs where I've been standing on a beach in Hawaii filming, and there's like, obviously like my wife's there with me, but there's no one else to share it with.
Yeah.
And I think I've travelled 32 hours in an aeroplane to sort of come here in like 90% humidity to this incredible island, yet I've got really no one to share it with, or nothing to really shout about with it, because you're working like non-stop as well when you're on these business trips. It's not like you get time to put everything down and go and enjoy yourself.
Right.
So it's not all like cut out.
What were you shooting?
We used to do a lot of sports, a lot of triathlon. We was there for the World Championships.
Oh, wicked.
And so I used to be the sole media company for the 4 times world champion Swiss athlete Daniela Reef. So we did a whole season with for the run up to Hawaii, which was the World Championship.
Oh, wicked!
So we used to go to Switzerland once a month to go and like film her, and we'd be in the Canaries with her, we'd be in Germany with her, loads of places with her. It was great, but it was hard work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 8 hours in a van with her crossing the border to go to somewhere else, so you can go and film her doing a bit of swimming, and then it was mad. It was crazy, but it was lovely. You know what I mean? I did get to see a lot of the countries, and obviously Hedy, like my wife, she did everything with me, so it's nice to share it with her. But you know, years ago when I did it all on my own, it was so boring. The
thing about like filming, because I used to do I'm totally out of shape now, but I used to do triathlons, and you know, occasionally Mel would come along, or my mum and dad, then I'd be like, all right, film me. But you stood there one place.
Honestly,
you missed that.
I know. Honestly,
then what'd you do?
So I used to be the regular filming for Lanzarote Ironman, and they used to hire a motorbike for me that I could sit on the back of the bike and go and follow the leaders.
All right,
all round.
Tour de France vibes.
God, it's the most frightening thing ever, because I don't know if you've ever been on the back of a motorbike with a Spanish fella. No. Like health and safety goes out the window. Pair of shorts, vest, doing like 110 down all around these little bends and everything. It's just lava rock all around.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, come off of there. I'm just going to actually.
And are you facing backwards when you're filming?
Sometimes you can be backwards, but other times you're just sort of on the side, because you're right next to the leading cyclist, you know, or whatever. But yeah, you're right. When most people that are spectating, they go, so should we wait for them to come in on a run then?
Yeah, because the bike's just out and back, isn't it?
That's it.
Wherever you are on that course, you've got 2 chances, and they're about 2 hours apart.
That's it. Yeah. So no, it was good times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're right. Sometimes it would be nice just to, you know, Christmas works do.
Definitely.
How did we do this year, guys?
Yeah. Celebrate it with somebody. Yeah.
Do you want to go for a drink after work? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Office romance, whatever, you know. No, you're just on your own. But then you're free, but I don't know what you're going to do with the freedom. It's important to like recently I've tried to like just get out on the golf course, even if it's on my own, play tennis, do things that I've always wanted to do, and now I'm able to
play tennis on your own?
Well, I don't play tennis on my own. Funny enough, I did buy a ball machine. Wait, ask my family about this. But I bought this. I bought this thing called a Lobster. It's a ball throwing machine. It was after I had a good launch, I was like, this is a ridiculously unnecessary expenditure in my life. I'm going to buy this expensive ball throwing machine so you can play your own action. But my shoulder's playing up. I've got to get that sorted.
So if you was to have any advice for a young musician coming through, what advice would you give, Jamie?
Right. Okay. Let's have a think. What would be good advice for somebody these days? Practice your arse off, because there's going to be situations that you can't just blag it. You know, you've got to be really good at your instrument. So get really as good as you can. Be nice to everyone that you work with, and try and over deliver. Make sure you look right, you're smart, you're early, you help, like move the gear, whatever. Be helpful and friendly. That'll get you a long way. Do as many gigs as you possibly can for the experience, even if they're like low paid. I think that'll cover most of it. If you do a load of gigs, you'll meet a load of people. If you're nice and people like working with you, they'll want to book you again, especially if you can do the job. So those three things should sort you out, I reckon.
Jamie, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. And
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sharing all that with me. I'm never going to forget the ball throwing thing now. I actually now need to come around and see it.
You ask my family about it, they take the piss the whole time.
I bet I would as well.
The funny thing is, as soon as I bought it, it hurt my shoulder, and I used it about once. So
really?
Never going to let me forget it.
Yeah, but you deserve to be rich for it, to be honest. Jamie, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me,
Thank you, and good luck with everything with YouTube and everything else you're doing. You're a massive inspiration.
Cool, thanks, man.
Thank you.